Part 28. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Kandi. Chapter 271. This person should understand this statement. The killer nodded and said, yes. Zhang Ziluo's eyes darkened, and her eyes were extremely cold. Who does it mean? The eldest prince and Princess Jiamin have arranged this. Zhang Ziluo asked some more questions and stabbed the dagger directly on the spot to ensure that the killer was dead. Then he sprinkled corpse powder to make sure there were no traces of the body before leaving. As for the 100 people hiding in Blackstone Village, Zhang Ziluo was also prepared to deal with them. Now that she knows, she won't ignore it. But those 100 people were elites trained by the eldest prince, and she might not be able to solve them all by herself. So medication is necessary. Zhang Ziluo is going to prepare some poisonous drugs, and first she will stun them all when they are not prepared and poison them to death. If it is not killed, then use the last hit to finish it off. Someone like the eldest prince is not worthy of sitting in that position. They even thought of killing innocent farmers and robbing them of their food. Even if such a person sits in that position, he will not care about the life and death of ordinary people. Thinking about these things, Zhang Ziluo looked solemn. Zhang Ziluo found a place to change her clothes and then went to Xinglan Pavilion again. She wrote a medicine order and asked the medicine boy to take the medicine. So many medicinal materials. The medicine boy was stunned for a moment. Not only were there many medicinal materials, but the most important thing was that, if he read correctly, some medicinal materials were poisonous. This. He did not dare to speak. Of course the young master also explained some things when he left. So they must keep things about Miss Zhang a secret. So they also have to keep these medicinal materials secret. It is precisely because of her trust in Zhuang Xing'an that Zhang Ziluo dared to buy these medicinal materials here. Zhang Ziluo said, well, you just need to take the medicine, but these must be kept confidential. Yes. Just so many medicinal materials, and it cost more than 30 taels of silver. This is because the medical center gave me a cheaper price, so I only spent so much. In this case, Zhang Ziluo doesn't have much money in her hands. But there were things she had to do. Zhang Ziluo took the medicinal materials, and when she got on the bullock cart, it seemed that she put them into the basket, but in fact she put them into the space. It is only safe if it is placed in the space. Hurry up and prepare all the medicinal ingredients when you get back. Next, Zhang Ziluo pretended to be nonchalant and went to deliver the cattail leaf fan. The cattail fans ordered by the aunties in the community were sent over first. There were 8 cattail fans in total, and 80 coins were recovered. Looking at the 80 cents, Zhang Ziluo sighed in her heart. Medicinal materials are still expensive. If you don't have to buy medicinal materials, you can save all the money you earn. If she didn't care about anything and took the villagers to live in the deep mountains and old forests, she wouldn't have to spend more than 30 taels of silver to buy medicinal materials to mix with poisons. But looking at some farmers wearing patched linen clothes and torn shoes showing their toes on the roadside, I thought about how hard everyone worked for a year just to harvest food. Even with the harvested grain, many families do not have enough to eat, so they live frugally, sometimes eating 2 meals a day. This is the food for everyone to survive. The eldest prince actually sent 100 elites to prepare to rob the grain. Not to mention, if someone resisted, he would have the farmers killed. Thinking of this, Zhang Ziluo couldn't convince herself to just ignore it. Even the county government can't take care of so many things. If the commander of the guard post is told not to send troops, he will not be able to control the bandits' affairs at all. And if she tells these things, it will definitely attract the attention of some people secretly. Maybe it will cause trouble for the Kui family. So some things must be done secretly. Don't let anyone suspect them. Thinking about these things, Zhang Ziluo went shopping to see if there was anything she needed to buy. At noon, She drove the bullock cart home. And the Kui family in Donghe village. While Kui Hejin was in the room, a man in black entered his room quietly. Master. Kui Hejin put down the book in his hand and said, "You will show up now, but what's the matter?" This is the secret guard given to him by Grandpa Kui Hejin, called Jianying. Jianying said respectfully, "Master, I followed my wife and found that my wife knew martial arts and killed 4 people. Kui Hejin's expression changed, he stood up and said, "Why are you following her? This is not an order I gave you." Kui Hejin looked at the shadow guard kneeling on the ground, and a bit of chill came out. At this moment, he even had murderous intentions. No one can do anything harmful to Ji Luo. Even tracking is not possible. This offended his instinct. Jianying realized that his master was angry, and his face turned pale. The master seems to be stoic and doesn't care about anything, but it turns out he cares about his wife so much. My subordinates have been arranged by Duke Yang to protect their masters. Any existence that may threaten their masters must be investigated clearly. This is the duty of subordinates. The master didn't go to the school to teach. The master didn't say anything, but the subordinates knew it was the madam's idea. The madam went to the school to ask for leave from the master, and asked Mr. Li from the school to give the students a holiday. Jianying took advantage of his master's intention to kill and hurriedly told him everything, including things he saw and heard. Even if he is killed by his master, he will not hesitate. As long as you can protect your master. This is his duty. It was also Yang Gong's order. After listening to everything, Kui Hejin sat down slowly, lowered his head slightly, and held his forehead slightly with his fingers. He lowered his head, covering the emotions in his eyes. No one knows what he is thinking at this moment. After a long time, Kui Hejin suppressed all emotions and said, "I won't kill you, you go back." Jianying became panicked at this moment. "Master, please don't drive me back, master." For the secret guard, being pushed back by the master is the greatest punishment. Jianying knelt and kowtowed continuously. "Please master, please don't retreat to your subordinates, and your subordinates must protect their master." Jianying looked at his master's silence, his heart was filled with despair, and he pulled out his sword and was about to commit suicide. Cannot be used by the master, and there is no need for him to live. Kui Hejin moved the pen in his hand and quickly knocked out the sword in Jianying's hand. The sword shadows all showed confusion. Kui Hejin stood up and walked to the bedside, stood with his hands behind his hands and said, "Jianying, you don't understand anything. Master, please make it clear. Master, please give me another chance." Kui Hejin said, "Jianying, since you were sent into my hands by my grandfather, you should understand who your master is and whose orders you should obey." Jianying lowered his head and said, "I know my mistake. From now on, the subordinates will only obey the orders of their master." Kui Hejin was silent for a long time, and then she said leisurely, "My wife, I don't allow anyone to hurt her, let alone make her unhappy, even if that person is me, do you understand?" Jianying was immediately shocked. "Master, you..." The information revealed by the master's words was enough to frighten Jianying. Master has someone he cares about very much and has a real weakness. Besides, you don't understand her. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Candy. Chapter 272. After listening to Jianying's report, Kui Hejin knew why his wife didn't let him go to school. Perhaps she just knew that he would be in danger. It's just strange how she knew. At this moment, Kui Hejin couldn't help but think of the previous times when he would have been in danger, but coincidentally, he avoided the danger because of Ji Luo. The time that left a deep impression on me was also in the school. The kitchen in the back of the school caught fire and collapsed. If it weren't for Ji Luo, he might have been injured. So his wife is not an ordinary person, and may also have some unexplainable abilities. She has been silently protecting him and treating him well. After understanding a lot at this moment, Kui Hejin felt a turmoil in his heart. Ahem. Kui Hejin put his hand on his heart, where he could no longer calm down. At this moment, he wished he could see his wife right away. Remember what I said, and I won't do it again. Next time, I won't use you again. Jianying said respectfully, yes, master. When Jianying went out, he couldn't help but look at his master's figure. He understood that his master was moved. Such a cold and restrained person, with self-restraint and courtesy, as if a person who does not know the fireworks of the world suddenly becomes moved, one can imagine what will happen. Just like a flood, it has been blocked and blocked. When the flood suddenly releases, no one knows what kind of turbulent waves it will cause and what will be submerged. After Jianying left, Kui Hejin stood quietly in front of the window. He closed his eyes and suppressed the surging emotions in his heart. When I opened my eyes again, my expression was clear and clear. Kui Hejin sat down to read the book again, but couldn't read it. For a while, the book stayed on a certain page without turning. He knew that his mind was disturbed. Kui Hejin sighed helplessly and pinched his eyebrows with his hands. Zhang Ziluo didn't know anything about this. When Zhang Ziluo returned home, Mrs. Kui and Kui Kinkai had already prepared lunch. Seeing that she was back, Kui Kinkai said happily, "Sister-in-law, you are back. Lunch is ready and you can eat it in a moment." Zhang Ziluo nodded and said, "Okay." With that said, she the ox cart, washed her hands and went into the kitchen house. Kui Kinkai said, "Sister-in-law, my mother and I have braided the 13 cattail fans we need, and we have braided one for each of the 4 of us. This morning, they did nothing but weave cattail fans." Zhang Ziluo smiled and said, "It's quite fast. Aren't you tired from knitting?" "I'm not tired. My mother and I were talking and playing. It's pretty cool just sitting under the flower shelves in the yard." Zhang Ziluo built the yard very well. She planted vegetables on one side and a leisure place on the other side. There were rattan chairs, wooden tables, and wooden chairs, and wooden shelves. Some of the flower vines she got from the mountains had vines growing on them. Flowers grew. The ground is paved with pebbles, which are also very beautiful and can be stepped on with bare feet. In summer, it is very cool to enjoy the coolness under the shelf. It is a shady place and the wind is very comfortable. Lying on the wicker chair, you will feel comfortable and comfortable. Here, there is no need to follow the rules, and it is very comfortable to be free every day. Kui Kinkai feels very relaxed here, and her heart gradually becomes peaceful. In this way, Zhang Ziluo felt relieved. Mrs. Kui brought out the food, and Zhang Ziluo went into the room to ask Kui Hejin to eat. "Hexi, it's time to eat." Kui Hejin stood up. Zhang Ziluo saw that he heard it, turned around and was about to go out. Kui Hejin gently held her hand. Zhang Ziluo was stunned for a moment and looked up at Kui Hejin in confusion. At this moment, Zhang Ziluo's heart almost skipped a beat when she suddenly met Kui Hejin's deep and captivating eyes. She felt a little palpitated under such eyes. His eyes are absolutely beautiful and full of love. Crane hibiscus. Kui Hejin whispered hoarsely, "Is everything okay in the morning?" He could only pretend to know nothing and could only ask this question. Ask her if she feels uncomfortable, tired, or injured. Since those 4 killers were sent by the eldest prince, they were definitely not ordinary killers. At the thought that she might be injured, Kui Hejin felt a bloodthirsty killing intent surge in her heart. Zhang Ziluo naturally didn't know what Kui Hejin was thinking, so she just thought he was asking about school affairs, and said, "Well, everything is fine. I even took a look when I came back. The students are doing a good job of previewing their homework. After school at noon, they go home for dinner." Kui Hejin nodded. Zhang Ziluo felt a little guilty. "Well, if you want to go to school in the afternoon, go ahead. At any rate, the danger has been resolved. She clearly asked him to stay with her at home, but she was not at home all morning. She was really worried that Kui Hejin would ask her. Fortunately, Kui Hejin didn't ask these questions. Kui Hejin gently touched Zhang Ziluo's hair and said, "I'll stay with you at home in the afternoon." Ah. Actually, no need, she just suddenly found a reason last night. "I suddenly feel that I was a little unreasonable last night, you." Before Zhang Ziluo could finish speaking, Kui Hejin interrupted her and said, "No. Nothing is unreasonable, I will support you in whatever you do." Still saying this, even if there is no reason, he will support any decision she makes. What's more, she did it for him. For him to do this silently, he silently solved the 4 assassins of the first prince. Is she really not afraid of getting hurt? She didn't say anything. If she was really hurt, if she was really, no one would know. Kui Hejin didn't dare to think about that situation. Zhang Ziluo smiled with crooked eyebrows, "I know how you are." Believing her without asking her the reason made her feel very comfortable. After a moment of silence, Kui Hejin finally said, "If you have any questions in the future, tell me and I will solve it." Zhang Ziluo nodded, "Okay." In fact, she didn't hear the underlying meaning of Kui Hejin's words at all. During lunch, Kui Hejin ignored the presence of Mrs. Kui and Kui Kinkai and carefully put vegetables for Zhang Ziluo. "Eat more." As if she was afraid that she would be hungry. Kui Kinkai thought to herself that her eldest brother must have a deep affection for his sister-in-law. Otherwise, a person who restrains himself and restores etiquette, a person who has etiquette etched in his bones, would not show it so obviously. The concern overflowed from his eyes. Kui Kinkai couldn't help but think of Pain Anshin, and she laughed to herself. It turns out that it is really that obvious whether a person loves someone or not. No matter how cold-blooded a person is, he will never remain indifferent when he is emotional. Zhang Ziluo was a little embarrassed and whispered, You eat too." She was embarrassed just to pick up food for her. Fortunately, Mrs. Kui and Kui Kinkai lowered their heads while eating, as if they didn't see it. Mrs. Kui is very happy. The son finally got the idea. To avoid embarrassment to them, she could only lower her head to eat, pretending not to see anything. End of chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Space Doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Candy. Chapter 273. After having a full meal, Zhang Ziluo got busy in the afternoon. She had to quickly prepare all the medicinal materials into medicine. Kui Kinkai seemed to have something in mind and asked, "By the way, sister-in-law, do you want to continue soaking the mung beans you soaked last night?" Hearing this, Zhang Ziluo remembered that she was still soaking mung beans. "It's already soaked. Wash the mung beans, grind them with a stone mill, and then filter them. After filtering it with gauze, let it sit and you can make mung bean powder tomorrow." I was originally planning to make mung bean jelly tonight, but it seemed like it was a little too late. Kui Kinkai has been learning to cook from Zhang Ziluo for more than a month. When Zhang Ziluo told her how to do it, she understood it immediately. She knows everything including how to filter. "Sister-in-law, I know, it's just like making kudzu powder. But this is polished with a stone." Kui Kinkai has used a stone mill, so he naturally knows how to grind things. Besides, with Mrs. Kui at her side to help, Zhang Ziluo doesn't have to worry about this. She went to an empty guest room to tinker with her medicinal herbs. She also has a complete set of tools, including special tools for pounding and grinding medicine. She was busy until the evening, and Zhang Ziluo didn't even bother to eat. She prepared packets of medicine. She plans to do some activities in the evening. So I ate, washed, and went to bed at night. Zhang Ziluo actually didn't feel sleepy after lying down. It's just that she didn't want Kui Hejin to worry, so she lay quietly like this, waiting for Kui Hejin to sleep. After a long time, Zhang Ziluo felt that Kui Hejin should be fast asleep, so she quietly got up. Zhang Ziluo watched Kui Hejin sleep soundly, and then slowly got up. Go down to the ground quietly. Then quietly walked out of the room. She went to the next room, got fully armed, and set off. It's just that Zhang Ziluo didn't notice that there was a figure standing on the roof of her home, standing in the wind like autumn water in the sky. Kui Hejin has not slept. He still knows very well whether his wife is sleeping or not. Every time he listened to her shallow breathing, he knew that she was asleep, and he could sleep peacefully. But it didn't happen this night. Kui Hejin couldn't sleep well thinking about what happened in the morning. So when she got up in the middle of the night, Kui Hejin would naturally know. It's just that he didn't want to disturb her. He supports what she wants to do, but if she doesn't want others to know, he pretends not to know. Kui Hejin hid her aura, so Zhang Ziluo didn't notice anything. Zhang Ziluo walked quickly in the dark night, heading towards the direction of the Black Stone Village. She also knows the direction of Black Rock Village. In the early morning, Zhang Ziluo arrived at Haishizai. This is a steep mountain range in the westernmost part of the town. If it weren't for Zhang Ziluo's wood power, it would have taken a lot of effort to get here. At this time, everyone in Haishizai was asleep except for the people who were watching. A few people who were out looking for a walk found a place to sit, yawning again and again. Let me tell you, our place is remote and steep. Most people won't come here at all, so there is no need to patrol. We will patrol if the superiors ask us to patrol. Now that I'm going to be the boss, don't let anyone doubt it. No one can come to this place, don't worry. It's true, even on a hot day, we want to sleep inside, but we have to go out to feed the mosquitoes. Be patient, after those untouchables collect the grain, our task of robbing the food will be considered completed, and we will take credit when we go back. Besides, our mission is not dangerous, and those untouchables have no strength and do not dare to compete with us. Haha, there is still a way from above. The untouchables are most afraid of bandits. Let's pretend to be bandits. Their food is robbed and they don't dare to resist. When the time comes, we will kill them all if they don't like it. Yes, and you can blame the people on King Duan's side. The Jian family has offended someone and is now under control. In the entire county, no one can stop us from doing what we do. The food we snatched back this time is enough for us to eat for the next few days, so there is no need to worry. Besides, Naxigo village is secluded. Even if a fire is set, no one knows what's going on in their village. These people are very dissatisfied with patrolling outside to feed mosquitoes, so they are saying these things without taking human life seriously. They couldn't wait to rob the grain, and plan to transport it out by water transportation. They not only plan to rob food, but also plan to kill people and put the blame on King Duan. It's really a strategy that kills two birds with one stone. It's a pity that Zhang Ziluo will not let such people live. Zhang Ziluo sprinkled some medicine and let them breathe it in with the wind. Dong dong. After these people fell, Zhang Ziluo went up and tied them up, then gave one of them the antidote, asked questions about Blackstone village, and after getting some information, he stabbed them all a few times to ensure that they were all safe. He was so dead that he entered the stronghold. This place was originally an abandoned cottage, and no one has been there for a long time. I didn't expect that the eldest prince's people would use it as a stronghold and hide more than 100 people. Zhang Ziluo used the wood power to hide her aura and went in quietly. She has seen the skills of the four killers, and naturally understands that the people from the first prince's faction are not ordinary people. Perhaps there are experts in the village. So she stayed hidden. The terrain of the mountain village is difficult to explore and is very complicated. Zhang Ziluo quietly investigated the situation. I saw some grain piled up in some places. The sacks were different, and some sacks had blood stains on them. It can be seen that these people robbed the food. It is not known how many people were injured. Zhang Ziluo looked at those sacks and knew that they were the sacks used by farmers to carry grain. Most of them are woven with twine, and some are woven roughly. At the thought of some hard-working farmers being killed by these people, Zhang Ziluo felt a strong murderous intention. Most people were asleep at this time. Although it is summer, it is windy in the middle of the night. Especially in places like mountains, there is a lot of wind. Zhang Ziluo concentrated her expression, quietly found the place where the so-called boss lived, and released the prepared poison. She originally prepared the drug. She thought that if these people were not guilty of death, she would at most use drugs. Who would have thought that these people were so cruel and ruthless? If these people are not dealt with, we don't know how many innocent people will be killed. Zhang Ziluo's eyes were filled with murderous intent. No wonder when we arrived, there was no one in the village of more than 10 households at the foot of the mountain. The village seemed to have been burned down by fire. It turned out that it was these people who did it. Zhang Ziluo quietly released the poison. In the silent night, these cruel people died silently in their sleep, and no one knew. But there are also people who are alert. Poison. Everyone, get up, get up. Someone started beating gongs and drums in Black Rock Village. But only a dozen people ran out of the house. Who dares to poison? Here it is. The big boss ran out wearing a suit of armor. He held a huge scimitar in his hand and slashed at Zhang Ziluo. Zhang Ziluo could feel the strong internal force emanating from this man. Looks like this is a master. Beside him was a cold-looking woman, her whole body hidden in the darkness, holding a long whip in her hand. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Candy. Chapter 274. Zhang Ziluo knew that this cold woman was a master of martial arts. They are the people recruited by the eldest prince. This is the news she just learned from the patroller. An icy cold light flashed across Zhang Ziluo's eyes. The big boss shouted loudly and led everyone to attack Zhang Ziluo. If you dare to cause trouble in our territory, kill her. No, leave a breath to capture him alive and let the master deal with it. They said and attacked Zhang Ziluo directly. With a murderous look, she waved towards Zhang Ziluo with scimitars, long whips and other cold weapons. Zhang Ziluo raised her eyebrows, looking calm and collected from beginning to end. These people were not affected by the attack. They seemed to have taken antidote pills and other elixirs. Zhang Ziluo fired out the silver needle in her hand. Like a goddess scattering flowers, it looks extremely beautiful, but every move is a killing move. 3 people were hit and fell quickly, while the others avoided it. Especially the so-called big boss and the charlatan woman blocked all the silver needles. The corner of Zhang Ziluo's mouth curled up in a cold arc, and the flying knife in her hand shot out again. The big boss was very powerful and used his machete to block the flying knife. But no one would have thought that one of the flying knives turned out to be a double sword. He blocked the flying knives, but he didn't expect that they were 2 flying knives. One of them whirled and flew over, directly piercing the charlatan's arm. Ah! No one would have thought that Zhang Ziluo would directly use her killing move against this charlatan girl. At the same time, Zhang Ziluo held a short knife in her hand, jumped forward, spun around, and stabbed straight towards the charlatan girl. What she is best at is close combat. In the last technological era, she often went on missions and was best at close combat. Destroy the enemy with one move. It's just that there was no internal martial arts at that time, so she used the wood type ability. At this time, she also used wood abilities. The Jianghu woman's arm was injured and she stared at Zhang Ziluo fiercely. I'm going to kill you, kill you. The woman became crazy and released all the poison from her body. Zhang Ziluo snorted, these poisons were of no use to her. She directly used the wood ability to isolate it. However, a few of them were not affected, and they seemed to have taken her detoxifying pill. Zhang Ziluo understood that this woman must die. So she seemed to be making a few feints, but in fact she was launching a killing move towards this woman. At some point she let down her hair and started fighting with these people. They were all on guard against the dagger and silver needle in her hand. Zhang Ziluo saw the flaw in their moves. The dagger rotated back and forth, and at the same time, when no one was paying attention, the body jumped up and turned in the high air, and when it fell, its hair twirled. No one knew that there was a dagger curled in her hair, and it directly cut the woman's neck as she spun around. Bump! The woman's eyes widened and she fell to the ground. Perhaps she wouldn't have thought about why she died. Kill her, kill her. Avenge the charming girl. Zhang Ziluo solved this Jianghu woman, and it was much easier to deal with these people. Penpenpen. In the end, all these people fell to the ground and died like this. Zhang Ziluo crossed her arms and snorted coldly, "If you want to blame, I blame you for following the wrong master. If the eldest prince wants to kill someone, he must be prepared to be killed in return. Since the eldest prince wants to touch Kui Hejin, she will destroy any plan or scheme of the eldest prince. The night is quiet and the wind blows gently. Even the leaves are rustling." Zhang Ziluo crossed her arms and said calmly, "If you have seen enough, come out." A dark shadow slowly fell in front of Zhang Ziluo. "Girl, what a skill." Zhang Ziluo turned her head and looked at the person in front of her. Although this person is masked, his eyes cannot be disguised. When this person spoke, his voice was the magnetic voice of a man, but these eyes made Zhang Ziluo extremely familiar. Not only because I was sleeping, but also because I have seen it before. Zhang Ziluo didn't understand many things before. At this moment, she seemed to understand something, and her eyes trembled fiercely. "Your Majesty Taijun. Miss Jiao." No wonder when I first met Miss Jiao, I thought her eyes were very special. But she would never contact His Highness the Grandson. Because one is a man and the other is a woman. What's more, His Highness Taijun is already dead. Died young. Who would have thought he might still be alive? In her sleep, through the perspective of Miss Wei Lu, she met His Highness the Grandson several times, and later became even more familiar with him because of her brother. He had these eyes when he was a boy. Even though things have changed as she grows up, she can be sure that her judgment was not wrong. So for a moment, Zhang Ziluo was a little dumb and didn't know what to say. But it also made her understand that this person was a friend, not an enemy. The current emperor and several princes are ruthless people who do not take human life seriously, let alone ordinary people. For them, ordinary people are tools for their struggle for power and profit. But the prince back then was not the same, and His Highness the Grandson was even more different. From the scenes she saw in her sleep and from the people's reputation, she knew that His Highness Taijun was a person who valued affection and righteousness. His survival is a good thing for Yun State and the people. And if he were in that position, he would definitely bring justice to the Wei family. Loyal ministers like the Kui family will not be implicated. At this moment, Zhang Ziluo felt a storm in her heart. She opened her mouth and said, "These people are sent by the eldest prince. They plan to kill the farmers and rob them of the food after they harvest it, so I am here to do justice for heaven." Yun Loxiao listened to the woman in front of him speak with deep and complicated eyes. He looked at the moon in the sky and said, "The way the girl acts is very much like an old friend of mine." Old friend, could it be that His Highness Taijun was thinking of someone at this time? Yun Loxiao sighed and said with a hint of regret, "Yes, she should have been." Although Yun Loxiao didn't finish speaking. But when Zhang Ziluo looked at him, she always felt that he was very sad at this moment and seemed to bear a lot of responsibilities. Thinking of the relationship between the Wei family and him, and the inexplicable familiarity with the Wei family, she also felt a little sympathetic to the grandson, but it was always good to be alive. Living is always full of hope. Zhang Ziluo couldn't pretend that she knew his identity, so she could only consider and comfort him. Unfortunately, I am not your old friend, and I don't know you. But if your old friend is here, I hope you are well and not look sad. Live well so that your enemies will suffer and your loved ones will be happy. Yun Loxiu's eyes lit up, she looked at Zhang Ziluo and said, "You girl's way of talking is really similar to her when she was a child." Yes, at this moment Yun Loxiu thought of Miss Wei Lu when she was a child. She was very smart when she was 3 or 4 years old. When I first met him, I was wary of him because of his identity. Thanks to Wei Sanlang, he later became familiar with Miss Wei Lu. She also always speaks amazingly, and what she says always makes people suddenly enlightened. Also like pistachios. That was the most relaxing time for him. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Candy. Chapter 275. So many things happened in the prince's palace in the East Palace, and he was saved by so many people with their lives. He has a lot of responsibilities on his shoulders. He never had a peaceful sleep again, and many times he couldn't help but think back to that time. Hate even more for being unable to protect her at that time. Zhang Ziluo's expression changed. She really didn't know who His Highness Taijun was thinking of at this moment. I just feel that there is an indescribable desolate and sad atmosphere lingering around him at this moment, which makes people feel heartbroken when they look at it. Zhang Ziluo thought, yes, as His Royal Highness, his status is destined to be extraordinary. Even if he wanted to be an ordinary person, he couldn't. Just because he shoulders too many responsibilities and too many people's hopes. If he could survive, there must be many people secretly protecting him. Even don't hesitate to show off in women's clothing. No wonder Miss Jiao can't speak. No wonder she is tall, taller than many men. He would not do this unless he had to. But it only shows that His Highness the grandson is also very patient. Most people really can't do this. With such a noble status, he plays the role of a woman and cannot speak. The most important thing is that Jiao Mengmeng. If Miss Jiao is His Highness Taijun, then Jiao Mengmeng is probably not His Highness Taijun's daughter. That's just a disguised identity. Likewise, no one will notice a mute woman with a daughter. Even the emperor and princes would not doubt such a person. It's really wonderful. Similarly, as long as you can survive, it doesn't matter if you are ridiculed by these disguises, you will win or lose. As long as we can sit in that position again, history can be rewritten. The superiors did not allow history books to record this past, and no one dared to write about it. From the scene she saw in her sleep, Zhang Ziluo knew that His Royal Highness, the great-grandson, had been in Tsinghua University when he was young, and was a bandit gentleman. Zhang Ziluo was really filled with emotion. Zhang Ziluo said, "I am not your old friend. This young master, we will never meet again." Zhang Ziluo doesn't want to get involved for the time being. I don't even want to know the secret of His Highness the grandson. After experiencing life and death, His Highness the grandson may not be as gentle and kind as he was when he was young. Zhang Ziluo borrowed the wood power to jump up and leave the place quickly. She was really afraid that His Highness the grandson would stop her. But I didn't expect that he didn't stop me at all. Even if there is only a slight resemblance, Yun Loxiu is reluctant to hurt this woman in the slightest. What's more, she helped him solve a big problem. A woman who can care about the life and death of the people and even take risks alone is also worthy of admiration. Zhang Ziluo just walked home, unaware that Kui Hejin had been standing on a tall tree in the village and looking into the distance. After seeing her return safely, Kui Hejin breathed a sigh of relief. Kui Hejin quietly passed through the treetops and came to the house. Took off his coat and lay on the bed again. Of course, Zhang Ziluo didn't know about this scene, so she changed out of her night clothes. Then she quietly returned to the house. When he saw that Kui Hejin was still sleeping, he slowly breathed a sigh of relief. She gently came to the bed and lay down to sleep. Dream this night. Zhang Ziluo dreamed of another scene. Still in the Wei mansion, in a room in the east courtyard. The 4 or 5-year-old girl Wei Lu was sleeping when she suddenly heard a thud. She suddenly woke up from her sleep. Although the movement was small, she heard it. It's just that her courtyard doesn't like to be disturbed by people, and no one comes here on weekdays. Even the maid is sleeping in the penthouse. She didn't seem to like having a maid by her side when sleeping. This also makes it easier for her to leave the house secretly. So when she came out barefoot from the house, no one noticed. Girl Wei Lu saw a comatose little boy in the grass in the yard. When she walked over and saw this man clearly through the moonlight, she was surprised. Your Highness Taijun. Seeing that His Highness Taijun was injured, Miss Wei Lu did not alert anyone and prepared to carefully carry him into the house for treatment. But she was too small to carry people into the house. She was silent for a moment, then stretched out her hand, and a blue-green light lingered in it. Then she used this power to move the person to the couch inside the house. She took out the medicine box, made some medicine, and treated her grandson's wound. But his wounds were serious and he seemed to have been poisoned. She put the blue-green light on his wound. This power was injected into His Highness Taijun's body, helping him detoxify and allowing his wounds to heal quickly. Of course, in order not to be suspected, she still left some wounds on him so that no one could see anything. Isn't this a wood ability? How come this medicine box made for me looks so similar? When Zhang Ziluo saw this scene, she was so shocked that her heart almost jumped. Girl Wei Lu also has the power of wood and can also treat people's diseases. She also has wood powers. Her appearance is somewhat similar to hers. When Zhang Ziluo's heart was trembling, a sudden force swallowed her up. Then Zhang Ziluo discovered that she had become the girl Wei Lu. She looked at her little hands, shocked. It's just that although she is in this body, she can only see but cannot control it. Ahem. At dawn, when she heard a cough, Miss Wei Lu woke up and looked at His Highness Taijun and said, "Brother Taijun, you're awake." Taijun looked at the cute little girl who had just woken up from her sleep. When he realized where he was, he showed a gentle expression and said, "Sister Wei, it was you who saved me." He used an affirmative tone. "Brother Taijun, if I said I didn't save you, but a dark shadow saved you, would you believe it?" Taishun looked at the little girl with a smile and said, "Whatever you say will be whatever it is." Girl Wei Lu sighed. She originally wanted to keep a low profile. There are just a few brothers who are obsessed with showing off girls, especially her third brother, who is a solid person and has great trust in his grandson. If Taijun says the same thing, he will say anything. The grandson may seem gentle, but he is also very sinister. She doesn't want people to know that she knows medical skills. It's not good to be too smart at such a young age. She doesn't really want to be noticed. But her grandson happened to fall in her yard, and she couldn't wait to save him. Because the grandson is doing well, the Wei family can also do well. Brother Taijun, there was poison in your wound. The shadow said it had detoxified you and applied medicine to you, but you should also pay attention to it and not be plotted against again. The little girl also knows that the calm surface is the turbulent waves of power. Her brother said that her grandson had been assassinated several times since she was a child. Fortunately, Taijun was capable, and even the assassins could not kill him. The grandson looked very obedient and nodded seriously, "Okay." The little girl took the medicine to Taijun and said, "This is ointment. Apply it to the wound every day. It will be fine in a few days." "But brother Taijun, can you not tell others that I have medical skills?" "Okay, don't tell me, this is our secret." "But little girl, you should call me brother Xiao, don't always add the word Taijun." The little girl frowned and looked confused. She really doesn't want to get too close to the people in the palace. If it weren't for the palace banquet, she wouldn't want to enter the palace at all. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fen Yuan Candy. Chapter 276. Girl Wei Lu frowned, looking reluctant. It made Yun Loxio laugh, and he couldn't help but want to reach out and touch the little girl's furry hair. The little girl frowned and avoided it. For Yun Loxio, Miss Wei Lu is different from other girls. Although she is young, she is very sensible and knows a lot. And there are not so many rules and regulations. Although she kept calling him your great-grandson, she did not actually regard him as your great-grandson. He couldn't help but want to tease her. It was also rare that Yun Loxio felt that he could actually relax in front of Miss Wei Lu. Yun Loxio, as His Royal Highness the grandson, must be strict with himself in every word and deed in the palace. Strive to do your best in whatever you do. The spirit is tense and it is difficult to relax. Even sleeping is light sleep. It was really strange, he felt strangely relaxed in front of the little girl. Although the little girl is only 4 or 5 years younger than him. Girl Wei Lu said seriously, you must pay attention in the future, it is very dangerous to suffer such an injury. Thank you, Sister Wei, for your concern. I don't care about you. She just wanted the Wei mansion to be in good health, not to be feared by the emperor, and not to be suppressed or punished. She felt that her grandson would be a good emperor in the future. Yun Loxio raised her eyebrows and asked softly, then why did you save me? Seeing that no one came early in the morning, he knew that the little girl was smart and did not leak the news of his injury. What he wanted to do was very covert. He was investigating something secretly, so that no one could know that he had been assassinated. The little girl thought for a moment and said, because you are a good person. A good person? Yun Loxio smiled softly. Yun Loxio stayed for a while and went back after dawn. Then the scene changed and the entire Wei mansion suddenly became chaotic. The news came from the border that General Wei and his family were killed in the battle. At the same time, the emperor ordered the imperial guards to seize the Wei family. Finally, the emperor charged the Wei family with collaborating with the enemy and treason. The Wei family will be punished. But before the punishment, a fire broke out in the Wei family. That fire was very fierce. Zhang Ziluo's whole body seemed to be in the body of the 6th girl of the Wei family. While the fire was burning, she looked at the changes in the Wei family and saw the raging fire, and her heart ached terribly. Don't want. When Zhang Ziluo woke up again, it was already broad daylight. Tears flowed from her eyes. I saw a lot of scenes while wandering around in one night. At this moment, she felt that those scenes were as clear as her memory. At this moment, she was completely sure that she was Wei Qingluo, the girl from Wei Lu. Just how the fire broke out in the Wei family and what happened after the fire. Why she survived. These are the doubts in her mind. But she tried hard to think, but she couldn't recall any more memories. It was as if the memory of my childhood had been frozen. The more I thought about it, the more my head hurt, and sweat broke out on my forehead. Kui Hejin, who was busy in the yard, seemed to hear the sound and returned to the room. Ziluo, what's wrong with you? Are you feeling unwell? A gentle voice suddenly sounded. It was as if a cool tone was suddenly injected into her painful brain, making her head feel comfortable. Zhang Ziluo turned to look at Kui Hejin, and she suddenly came back to her senses. Kui Hejin looked at her red eyes, her picturesque eyes narrowed slightly, and her eyes darkened. While Zhang Ziluo was in a daze, a cool and warm temperature suddenly touched her forehead. It is Kui Hejin's hand. His fingers are slender, with distinct joints and the cool warmth of jade. Just a light touch can give people a tingling sensation of electric shock. Zhang Ziluo was motionless. I don't have a fever, so why are I crying and having nightmares again? With that said, Kui Hejin reached out and gently wiped away the water from the corners of Zhang Ziluo's eyes with gentle and delicate movements. When Zhang Ziluo met his eyes, she felt that his expression was serious and deep. I'm fine, I was just dreaming. I've been dreaming a lot lately, is it very distracting? Fine. They are all related to her life experience. It turns out that the reason why she dreamed about those things was because of the hidden memories in her mind. She felt a sharp pain in her heart when she thought of the Wei family being accused of collaborating with the enemy and treason, and even being burned in a fire. The smell of blood came out of his throat. Several sons of the Wei family, as well as her eldest uncle, second uncle, and her father all died on the battlefield. In the dream, they still doted on her so much because they were still young. They died fighting to protect the Yun kingdom, but the late emperor imposed unwarranted charges. Kui Hejin looked at Zhang Ziluo deeply, feeling that his little wife was very sad at this time. Even if she didn't say anything, he could feel it. She wanted to cry but held back. He didn't even understand what she had dreamed about and how she could feel such emotions. Ziluo, I'm going to ask the doctor to take a look at your body. If you are tired, don't do anything and take a good rest at home. Zhang Ziluo grabbed Kui Hejin's sleeve, shook her head and said, I'm fine, and I don't feel tired at all. She was just shocked by some news. At this moment, her heart ached badly. When she thought about the deaths of her brothers and relatives who had doted on her so much, the rage in her body surged out. Even want to kill someone. Uncontrollable desire to kill. So she lowered her head and her body was a little stiff. Kui Hejin sighed softly, came to the bed and sat down, reached out and touched her hair gently, very gently. If you want to cry, then cry. Zhang Ziluo felt the tenderness of being cared for on the top of her head, and her defenses were suddenly broken. She leaned gently on Kui Hejin's arms, smelling his elegant and pleasant scent, and tears burst into her eyes uncontrollably. She didn't want to cry, but when she thought about what happened to the Wei family, and she was Miss Wei Lu, her heart was trembling with pain. Can't even breathe. Kui Hejin felt the person in her arms crying, especially her body was shaking slightly, and Kui Hejin's heart felt densely painful as if being pricked by needles. He really couldn't bear to see her cry. Kui Hejin's heart became extremely soft. He sighed softly and patted her back gently. What exactly are you dreaming about and crying about? Should she ask the doctor to prescribe some soothing medicine for her? Still, I have been tired recently. Same, she was taking care of everything inside and outside the house, and she almost never had a good rest. She will take care of their health and buy them medicinal materials. But regardless of her own health, she didn't take good care of herself. He doesn't know how to treat her, and he doesn't know her physical condition. Zhang Ziluo leaned in Kui Hejin's arms for a while and quickly calmed down. She came out of Kui Hejin's arms, wiped her tears and said, I made you laugh. She also shed tears when she woke up in the middle of the night before yesterday. Kui Hejin said softly, no, although I don't want you to cry, it's good to cry to make you feel better. How could he bear to laugh at her? But now he was even more sure that his little wife had a secret. And there are many secrets. Especially her light skills, I don't know who she learned them from. End of chapter. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Kandi. Chapter 277. But no matter what secrets she has, no matter who she is, Kui Hejin will not care. He only knew her as his wife. This will not change no matter what. Zhang Ziluo looked up at Kui Hejin's expression and found that his picturesque eyes had a deep expression. When he looked down at her, his eyes seemed a little tender and tender. Just this look seemed to easily soothe her heart. Zhang Ziluo quickly controlled her emotions and whispered, "Do you think I am like a child?" Zhang Ziluo didn't even notice. She instinctively cared about Kui Hejin's opinion. Won't. Zhang Ziluo was stunned for a moment, a little confused as to what Kui Hejin meant. Kui Hejin sighed softly and said softly, "This is your home. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to care about other people's opinions. You can be as happy as you like. Even if you want to cry, no one will laugh at you." He didn't want her to strain herself and tire herself out. He hopes that she will truly regard this place as her home, a place where she can relax and do whatever she wants. Hearing these words, Zhang Ziluo's heart felt warm. He is always so good. Every time I speak, I can speak to her heart. Zhang Ziluo didn't know why, but at this moment, her body gradually relaxed. Kui Hejin touched her hair and said, "Get up and have breakfast first. After breakfast, you can sleep a little longer." Kui Hejin looked at her eyebrows and felt that she had not rested well. His eyes were filled with pity. Zhang Ziluo nodded. Since she is awake, she usually doesn't catch up on her sleep. A good biological clock has also been developed here. Zhang Ziluo was a little distracted when she got up and washed herself. She can't do business step by step like this and only earn a little money. If she wants to rehabilitate the Wei family, she must have strong strength. In this era, although there were scholars, farmers, and merchants, the status of merchants was regarded as very low. But what if she controls the economic lifeline of Yun state? If she can affect the economic situation of the entire Yun kingdom with just one move of her feet, then she can control a lot of power. She didn't even know what the situation was like on the battlefield and whether anyone in the Wei family was still alive. As long as she has enough financial strength and uses money to clear the way, she can always find clues about her grandfather, uncle, and brothers. She didn't believe it, they were dead. Thinking about this, Zhang Ziluo's hand holding the toothbrush tightened and was very strong. Yes, she made the toothbrush herself and it works very well. She also wants to open stores and establish bases all over the Yun kingdom. If you want to do bigger things, you must also establish a news network. While having breakfast, Zhang Ziluo was a little absent-minded. Just after breakfast, Wei Xingyi brought some people to their house. "Mrs. Zhang, are you at home?" Wei Xingyi's voice came from the door. In front of everyone, Wei Xingyi followed his master's instructions and did not call him. But what he was calling in his heart was master. Hearing the sound, Zhang Ziluo came back to her senses and said, "Mom, I invited people from the Wei family escort bureau to come over and help collect food. I have rescued people from the agency before, they are trustworthy." After getting rid of the eldest prince's people, Zhang Ziluo felt a little relieved. Because she knew that after dealing with those people, it would be fine even if the people in the village harvested food later or slower. However, she was also worried that there would be a second wave of people arranged by the eldest prince, so she did not dare to take it lightly. Just collect the grain according to the previously arranged time. Mrs. Kui naturally believed in Zhang Ziluo's arrangement. What's more, Ziluo also said before that he was her apprentice, so there's nothing to worry about. Then invite them in quickly, I don't know if they've had breakfast yet. Zhang Ziluo stood up and said, "I'm going." Kui Hejin held her down and said, "You eat first, and I'll pick them up." Kui Hejin was worried that she would not be able to eat. In fact, under normal circumstances, the Kui family has breakfast very early. It's just because Zhang Ziluo woke up a little late this morning. Everyone wanted to wait for Zhang Ziluo to have breakfast together, so the breakfast was ready and kept warm in the pot. Anyway, even if Zhang Ziluo wakes up at noon, everyone will probably wait for her to wake up and have dinner together. In the hearts of the Kui family, Zhang Ziluo is the most important person. Kui Hejin went to the door and welcomed Wei Xingyi and others in. Wei Xingyi and the others were a little stunned when they arrived at the Kui family's residence. In their impression, the houses in the village all have small yards, but the Kui family's house is really big and covers a large area. It looks like a high-rise courtyard. Entering the yard, I found that the yards were very large. The most important thing is, it's so beautiful. On one side is the vegetable garden. Moreover, each vegetable garden is neatly arranged, like squares, separated by small paths paved with cobblestones. The other side is full of flowers and plants, and there is a special flower vine shelf. There are lounge chairs, stone tables, and stone chairs underneath. The ground seems to be a road paved with wood. There are also bamboo mats, cattail fans, etc. on the ground. Because there is a flower vine trellis, under the flower vine trellis, there is a shady place. The wind blows gently, and the fragrance of those flowers and plants fills the tip of my nose, making me feel comfortable even when I breathe. This environment is an eye-opener for everyone. Wei Xingyi also thinks the master's yard is really beautiful. Of course, he also heard from his master that the backyard was full of vegetables. Most of the people in the agency are from poor families and live in villages. When I am not busy, I will go home and help with farm work. But they don't know why. They looked at some vegetables in the yard and couldn't recognize what they were. There is also a dedicated sink for easy washing. Kui Hejin originally wanted to take everyone into the living room, but there were so many people coming that it might not be possible to fit them all in one living room. Zhang Ziluo had already prepared the bamboo mat. Place it on a casual wooden floor in the yard and let everyone sit on it. After she finished her meal, she came out and poured tea for everyone. Master, no need, we drank water when we came here, now we just go to work in the fields. Zhang Ziluo said, it will take you 3/4 of an hour to drive from the town. Have a sip of tea before going to work in the fields. Everyone also brought their own farm tools. Zhang Ziluo took a look and saw that there were about 10 people coming. Everyone can see that they have a lot of strength. 6 acres of land can definitely be finished in 2 days. The tea that Zhang Ziluo poured for everyone was naturally not ordinary tea, but tea brewed with spiritual spring water. Drinking tea will make you less likely to suffer from fatigue and heat stroke, and your body will be full of energy. This tea is really delicious. Yes, with a touch of sweetness. I don't know if it's an illusion, but after drinking tea, my body feels lighter. Yes, that's how it feels. It tastes really good. Everyone drank the tea that Zhang Ziluo poured for everyone. After drinking, everyone carried hoes and went to work in the fields under Zhang Ziluo's instructions. Zhang Ziluo also went to the fields to instruct everyone on how to harvest potatoes and wheat. Yes, the potatoes should have grown by now. Zhang Ziluo took A to dig the ground to demonstrate to everyone. After digging out a bunch of potatoes, the people in the agency were stunned. This, in such a small area, there are so many fruits growing underground. Zhang Ziluo looked at everyone's shocked expressions and said, this is called potatoes. I hope everyone won't tell anyone about what they saw today. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Candy. Chapter 278. Chapter 278 Refreshing and Refreshing, First Update. Yes, don't worry, Miss Zhang, we won't say anything. Yes, Miss Zhang, please save our lives. We are definitely not ungrateful people. We only work and say nothing. Everyone gave their assurances one after another. Zhang Ziluo could tell that everyone looked very serious and spoke very solemnly. Zhang Ziluo was naturally at ease with the people Wei Xingyi called. It's not just Zhang Ziluo's fields where everyone helps to collect grain. Even the people in the village are busy harvesting wheat and harvesting some crops. When the wind blows, the golden waves of wheat roll in the fields. Everyone harvests the wheat with bright smiles on their faces. When Zhang Ziluo came home, Kui Qingkai was grinding mung bean powder. I have a small stone mill at home for grinding things. Kui Kinkai used it just right. Sister-in-law, these mung beans are soaked and I'll grind them out. Zhang Ziluo's expression changed and she said, it happens to be making mung bean jelly at noon. Everyone has worked hard to come over and help with the work. You can also take care of the food at noon. The weather is hot, so I'll make some jelly for everyone. Let's make cold preserved eggs again, it's just right. Mrs. Kui and Kui Kinkai both helped. However, Zhang Ziluo was also worried that those people would not be full if they only ate jelly, so she and Mrs. Kui were busy making pies. Jian Ziluo also put the ground and filtered mung bean powder into the pot, stirring clockwise while pouring it in. Stir until transparent. Then scoop it out and put it in a large basin to let it rest. Let it cool and then refrigerate it with cold water from the well. Pour it out completely after refrigeration and cut into pieces. Then prepare the carrots, cucumbers, wash and shred them, mince the garlic, and prepare the seasonings. Set aside until the jelly is ready. Mrs. Kui has also made all the pies. Zhang Ziluo looked at the sun in the sky and saw that it was noon. Zhang Ziluo went to the fields to ask everyone to come back for dinner. Wei Xingyi waved his hand and said, actually, no need, we all brought dry food. Wei Xingyi told everyone in advance to bring dry food when he brought everyone here. He was also afraid of causing trouble to his master. Zhang Ziluo said, it's all done. There's a lot to do. Let's go eat. It will be wasted if you don't eat it. They listen to you and take everyone to the yard to eat. Zhang Ziluo looked at everyone working hard in the fields and nodded in her heart. It can be seen that everyone is really working hard, and the wheat has been harvested, while potatoes, peanuts and other crops have not yet been harvested. And the weather was hot, so everyone was sweating a lot. It's a pity that there is no watermelon. If there were watermelon, eating one would really relieve the heat. Looking at his master's expression, Wei Xingyi nodded. Thank you, master. Why are you so polite to me? I should be the one saying thank you to you. In this way, Wei Xingyi told everyone to go to Kui's house. Everyone was stunned. Young Master Wei, isn't this good? We are here to help with the work, how can we still eat? That's right, this will cause trouble for Miss Zhang. No, there are so many of us, so cooking is very hard, and the food in the countryside is very tight. If we give it to us, they will lose a lot of food. They all have big appetites. So when Mr. Wei said that he would take everyone to Kui's house for dinner, everyone disagreed. Ding Pai is Wei Xingyi's follower, so he naturally knows that Wei Xingyi has a good relationship with the Zhang family's young lady. But now his impression of the Zhang family's young lady has also changed. It is really the Zhang family's young lady who saved so many brothers in the agency. Master, let's not eat dry food. It's not easy for Miss Zhang. She works hard every day setting up a stall and doing business just to make some money to live. She still has to keep the food at home to eat. Even though it was hot, they were sweating while working. But to those of them who run darts all year round, this is nothing at all. It's nothing to do some work, and it's hard to travel on the road, not to mention sleeping in the open, not to mention the danger. Now they are just doing some work, nothing really. Wei Xingyi looked at the brothers in the agency and saw their sincere expressions. He smiled, patted a few people on the shoulders and said, "This is what Miss Zhang said. You don't understand her temperament. Now that I have said so, if you don't go, the food will be wasted. It's a man, stop talking nonsense and let's go." As soon as everyone heard this, they hurriedly carried piles of wheat, baskets of potatoes and other crops back to Kui's house on poles. Many people in the village brought dry food and water with them. They drank water and continued to cut wheat in the fields on a hot day. When it was time to harvest grain, no one cared about going home to eat. They all wanted to take advantage of the daylight to take back the wheat. Everyone is more afraid of someone coming to rob food. The villagers' clothes were soaked due to the heat, and they couldn't even afford to rest. That is to say, when eating and drinking water, sit under the shade of a big tree and take a rest. After a short rest, you can continue working. People who were close to each other did not go home either. They just want to work hard and harvest wheat. As soon as I go home at noon and relax, I may not have much energy in the afternoon. The weather has been good this year and the wheat is growing well. Yes, the particles are very large and can grind a lot more wheat flour. Everyone was in a good mood when harvesting grain. Even though it was a little tiring and hard, looking at the harvested wheat and imagining that there would be grain to eat all year round, it makes you naturally happy. Everyone hurriedly ate a few mouthfuls of dry food and drank a few mouthfuls of water, then took sickles and continued to harvest wheat in the fields. Occasionally, the wind blows gently, bringing a little bit of coolness. When Wei Xingyi took everyone into the Kui family yard, Zhang Ziluo had already placed herbal tea on the stone table. A stone table was definitely not enough, so Zhang Ziluo took a round table from home and placed it on a bamboo mat. Everyone could sit on the bamboo mat to drink tea and eat. Although everyone brought their own water, everyone didn't know why, but they felt that the water from Mrs. Jiang's house was delicious. This tea is even more refreshing and sweet, with a long and comfortable aftertaste. Everyone was quite thirsty at first, but after drinking a few sips of tea, everyone felt no longer thirsty. It tastes so good that everyone can't help but drink more. Zhang Ziluo walked over with a tray and reminded, "Don't drink water until you are full. Let's eat first." Mrs. Zhang, this tea is really delicious. Yes, especially thirst-quenching. They don't get tea every day. It is true that tea is very expensive. Drinking this tea, everyone felt comfortable and comfortable. Especially under the flower trellis, smelling the fragrance and feeling the coolness of the wind, I feel really comfortable and relaxed. It's as if they are not here to work, but to play. Of course they also know that there are so many people in the agency, and Mr. Wei brings them here because he trusts them. Zhang Ziluo brought down bowls of jelly. Wow, what is this? It looks transparent, we have never seen anything like this. Mrs. Zhang, what is this? Is this cold? Everyone looked at the mung bean jelly and their minds were full of questions. They don't know if it's a cold dish or rice, but they haven't eaten it. But just looking at it makes you want to eat. Wei Xingyi's eyes lit up even more. Master had discovered some delicious food again. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Space Doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Candy. Chapter 279. After Wei Xingyi ate the chili con carne sauce and bread made by his master, he knew how good his cooking skills were. Zhang Ziluo explained with a smile, "This is mung bean jelly, a food made from mung beans. I thought it would be hot out here and eating some jelly would help me feel refreshed and cool." Fortunately, there were many wooden bowls at home, so each of the more than 10 people filled a large bowl, which was enough for them to eat. Mrs. Zhang, you are too polite. Yeah, I didn't expect that we could eat such fresh food when we came here. It looks delicious. Everyone was very embarrassed and all started to praise it. Zhang Ziluo asked Wei Xingyi to take everyone to eat, while she went back to the house to get the pie. Mrs. Kui and Kui Kinkai were busy in the house. The pies have been taken out and allowed to cool for a while. Now the temperature is just right. It is not hot but still warm when you eat it. I also prepared a large plate of cold preserved eggs and a large plate of cold cucumbers. But the pies are all meat-filled pies, with plenty of fillings inside, and they are made in large quantities, enough for everyone to eat. By this time, Wei Xingyi and everyone had already eaten mung bean jelly. While eating, I was full of praises. Too delicious. It's so cool, it's so refreshing to eat jelly like this on such a hot day. It's so delicious and so comfortable. I thought I was hungry but didn't want to eat, but I didn't expect it to be so appetizing all of a sudden. This tastes amazing, so delicious. We have been to many places before, but we have never seen this kind of food. It turns out that mung beans can be eaten this way. Jiangfen, I've never heard of it before. That's why Miss Jiang is so powerful and can make such food. No, Ms. Jiang's chili meat sauce is so delicious. We, the escorts, rely on the chili meat sauce to eat. When they were traveling and sleeping in the open air, even if they ate dry food with water, their throats would be sore that it was difficult to swallow. But since the arrival of chili con carne, they are not afraid of eating and sleeping in the open air. They eat dry food with chili con carne and enjoy it very much. Of course, sometimes if you run out of dry food, you can go to the city or a farmer's house to buy a few steamed buns, and you can eat well. That chili meat sauce can be eaten every day without feeling tired, and it is best eaten with steamed buns and goes best with rice. When they first started eating, they were all looking forward to eating it with steamed buns when it was time to eat. They still remember the feeling of anticipation very clearly. As expected, Ms. Jiang's cooking skills are good and her food is delicious. Zhang Ziluo took a dustpan of pie and 2 plates of vegetables over. Everyone, please eat more. If you don't finish it, it will spoil easily and it will be wasted. Seeing everyone having a good time, Zhang Ziluo was also very happy. It means that the mung bean jelly is well seasoned. Everyone was having a great time eating jelly, but suddenly they were a little stunned when they saw Zhang Ziluo bringing pies and vegetables. There's more. These are enough to eat? None of them expected there to be food. They were all embarrassed. Zhang Ziluo explained, those jelly noodles look filling, but they are easy to digest. Let's eat more pies and vegetables. Eat more. You're welcome. Wei Xingyi couldn't help but be moved. Teacher. His master is simply too good. He brought his brothers over, and the master treated them so well. He actually felt that he was very dignified. Of course, face is not important. What matters is that the food made by master is delicious. Seeing that the brothers in the agency were happy, he also had an indescribable feeling in his heart, which made him feel very comfortable. These are strong people with great strength and indeed a large appetite. You may feel full after eating a bowl of jelly, but you can still eat it. They recognized the cucumber salad, but they had never seen the colored eggs. Wei Xingyi said, "This is a bastard. Only the capital has such food." Wei Xingyi went to the capital with his father when he was a child, so he naturally tasted some of the special foods in the capital, and this is it. Is it food that can only be eaten in the capital? Everyone was shocked. Everyone took a bite with their chopsticks and said, "It's delicious." Wei Xingyi was stunned. He remembered that this kind of changed egg tasted ordinary, and he couldn't eat it anyway. But seeing how everyone said it was delicious, Wei Xingyi also took a piece and tasted it. His eyes lit up. The key to this is seasoning, and it's because Miss Jiang knows how to cook it that it's so delicious. Some people also picked up the pie and started to eat it. It's all stuffed with meat, it's delicious. Everyone was very moved after eating the mince pies. Some of the eye sockets are also a little red. Ms. Jiang is also very kind. Such a big pie and so much meat filling are very expensive even if they are sold in the town. The key is that it is very delicious. It was so delicious that they almost wanted to cry. Zhang Ziluo, Ms. Kui and Kui Kinkai were having dinner in the living room. Although the windows of the living room are open, it is not as cool as the courtyard. They usually eat in the yard under the flower trellis. But now Wei Xingyi and others are eating there, while Zhang Ziluo and the others are eating inside. It is not convenient for the 3 women to eat with the big guys. What's more, everyone will be restrained. This way everyone can eat as much as they like. Hearing the praise from everyone outside, Zhang Ziluo also smiled. Zhang Ziluo thought to herself that she would still want to do business with her apprentice later on. She is now anxious to make more money, open stores in various places, and then use the stores in various places as bases to develop her power and establish a news network. This is her preliminary plan. At the moment, she doesn't know much about the situation in various places, and may also need to cooperate with Wei Xingyi. Of course she will respect Wei Xingyi's ideas. Thinking about this, Zhang Ziluo tapped the rim of the cup with her finger, thoughtfully. After eating and drinking, Wei Xingyi took everyone to work in the fields. Perhaps we are full and have more strength to work. So he works quickly. In the next few days, Wei Xingyi brought these people to Kui's house to help. At the beginning of the grain harvest, after the grain is harvested, the wheat must be dried, rolled, and threshed with stone rollers, and then the wheat must be winnowed and fanned with dustpans. Although the people in the agency are all young men, everyone works very meticulously. Moreover, everyone has done this farm work for the family before when they were children, so they don't know about it. With their help, the wheat harvest at home was quickly harvested. Zhang Ziluo takes care of everyone's meals every day, cooking lunch and dinner in different ways. Everyone works harder. I am even more happy than thinking about Shu. The food made by Zhang Ziluo is really delicious. Everyone wishes they could just help with the work at Kui's house. The food and drinks would be good, as if they were out having fun. They were almost busy with their work. Zhang Ziluo paid everyone their wages and gave each person a bottle of chili con carne sauce. Everyone was so moved that they didn't know what to say. Wei Xingyi looked at Zhang Ziluo and said, "Master, we don't need wages." During this time in the Kui family, everyone also knew that Mrs. Zhang was Wei Xingyi's master. So Wei Xingyi just called master in front of these people. Zhang Ziluo said, "It's not easy for everyone to work. Even if I hire people, I still have to pay them. You're welcome. Take it, so if I need help with anything in the future, I will still have the nerve to ask you for help." End of chapter. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Kandi. Chapter 280. Chapter 280, Deep in the Mountains, First Update. Hearing what Zhang Ziluo said, everyone took it. But my heart felt warm and moved. On the way back, everyone told Wei Xingyi, "Young Master Wei, if Mrs. Zhang needs someone to do things again in the future, you must call us." Yeah, we just felt like we were full after playing for a few days and eating well. Miss Jiang's cooking skills are so good, and the food she makes is so delicious even restaurants don't have such delicious food. No, the buns, pies, wontons and dumplings are all delicious. Even the noodles are so delicious. Everyone was talking excitedly, and now they couldn't help but reflect on the food they had eaten in the past few days. Everyone was very excited and couldn't help but discuss it all the way. Wei Xingyi looked at everyone's excited and happy expressions and smiled. The brothers in the agency have not been so happy for a long time. Same, he felt very comfortable even these past few days. Even though I had to help with some work, the weather was a little hot and I would sweat easily, but the master prepared a cold drink of herbal tea, and I felt very refreshed after taking a sip. Very strange, he thought the water at master's house was really delicious. I don't know if it's a psychological effect. When everyone was walking back, they happened to pass by Linjiang Tower, a restaurant in the town. When seeing the crowd of guests, everyone couldn't help but sigh. I remember that Linjiang Tower was very deserted before, but now business is so good. When we pass by Linjiang Tower in the past few days, we have seen that there are many people at night. They went to Donghe village in the morning and came back in the evening. In the morning, the restaurant is closed and there is nothing to see. But in the evening, it is when everyone eats, and it is easy to see how the restaurant's business is going. Although they are all brothers in the agency, they often send out escorts. If the task is big, they can make a lot of money every time. But they don't dare to spend money in restaurants, at most they know some news. Either they occasionally receive heavy tasks, and after completing them, the boss invites them to a restaurant for a meal, and they can also go to the restaurant to see it. Someone said, "What do you know? Linjiang Tower has launched the latest dishes, and there are also some set menu activities. It is delicious and cost-effective. Many people are coming to Jianglu to eat again." Didn't Baixianglu steal Linjianglu's business this time? Linjianglu introduces fresh dishes, and Baixianglu can always learn from them. That's because Baixianglu didn't buy any ingredients. They were all cold dishes made with boiled eggs. They were very delicious. They cost 2 taels of silver per plate. They were not expensive. They only ate in limited quantities at the beginning. Everyone wanted to eat freshly at Linjianglu. I didn't expect that there are also very cost-effective package activities. It doesn't cost much money, but you will be full. You don't know that Baixianglu quickly learned the set menu, but Linjianglu's cold dishes are very good, and I heard they taste very good. People want to eat cold dishes on hot days, so Linjianglu's business is good. Wei Xingyi said, "That cold salad with eggs you are talking about, we had it at my master's house, and we had it at noon on the first day. Have you guys forgotten?" When Wei Xingyi said this, everyone suddenly remembered it. In fact, everyone has eaten so many kinds of things these days that I almost forgot about them. They just ate without knowing what the dish was called. It's really cold preserved eggs. It's not the same as the ones in restaurants, right? With such a big plate, did we spend a lot of money? When everyone realized this, they suddenly felt that the wages given to them by Mrs. Zhang were a bit heavy. It would be better if you don't take these. Wei Xingyi always felt that the improvement in Linjiang Tower's business might be related to his master, but he had no evidence. He only knew the news about Baixiang Tower and Linjiang Tower. I also know that now shopkeeper Feng has the final say in Linjiang Tower. Shopkeeper Feng is now the owner of Linjiang Tower. As for the seasoning of the cold dish, I heard it is very good, and the cold dish is well made. He has never eaten there, but he heard from his father. As an agency, if you want to run the agency well, you need to know a lot of local news. In this way, when someone asks them to act as a dart, they will at least know whether there is a complicated relationship hidden in it. However, seeing Linjiang Tower's business getting better now, Wei Xing was a little bit disappointed in his ambition. Before, he thought Linjiang Tower was going to be closed. To be honest, he felt it was a pity at that time, because the shopkeeper Feng of Linjiang Tower was really good. The waiters in the store are also very enthusiastic, efficient, and do not discriminate against people. The villagers have also harvested the wheat during this period, but no one is in a hurry to grind the wheat. People from Xingshan village have temporarily moved to the mountains. Donghe village was watching everyone pack up the wheat and take everyone to hide in the mountains. The villagers have built simple cabins here before, which can provide some protection from wind and rain, but they are certainly not comparable to the houses in the village. It can only help everyone to escape temporarily. Although everyone is not used to living in the mountains. But after harvesting the grain, it happened to be the slack time for farming, so everyone was not in a hurry to do anything. Every day after dinner, everyone would gather under the big tree by the pool to enjoy the shade and chat. After staying in the mountains for a few days, Kui Hejin came back from school in the town, looking a little unhappy. Zhang Ziluo asked worriedly, "But what happened?" Originally Zhang Ziluo was also thinking about asking Kui Hejin to resign as a school teacher. How can I say that it is not peaceful outside now, but safety is more important. However, there is no holiday in the school, and it is not easy for Kui Hejin to ask for leave. Besides, Zhang Ziluo did not dream that Kui Hejin was in danger, so she did not stop him. Although I don't stop it, I still can't help but worry. Especially Mrs. Kui and Kui Kinkai were relieved to see that Kui Hejin came to the cave safely every day. Zhang's Hiluo even made traps outside the valley. If outsiders don't know, they will definitely fall into a trap and be caught if they break in rashly. People in Donghe village know where the traps are, know how to walk, and how to avoid them. But everyone is well prepared now and plans to hide here instead of going out. On weekdays, only Kui Hejin goes outside. Kui Hejin said with a condensed expression, "We are also fighting in Bazhu." Soldiers from the imperial court disguised themselves as bandits to rob food. I heard that some farmers in other towns had their food robbed, and many people were killed or injured. So Mr. Li gave the academy a long holiday. When it becomes peaceful outside, classes will be resumed. Zhang Ziluo breathed a sigh of relief when she heard that Kui Hejin no longer had to go to school. But when she thought about what he said about the war outside, Mrs. Kui looked a little uncomfortable. "I'm going to tell Li Zheng about this and ask him to tell the people in the village that everyone should not go anywhere during this period and just take shelter in the mountains," Mrs. Kui said and went to find Li Zheng. When Li Zheng and Zhu heard the news, their faces turned pale, and they even felt a little scared. "Fortunately, our village is hiding here. Thanks to listening to Zhi Luo's words. This matter is not trivial. We should tell the villagers immediately and tell them not to go outside. No, when it becomes peaceful outside, everyone can go back to the village." End of this chapter.